ambulance waiting at the door?
I gotta turn up the volume a little bit here. Okay. All right, let's go right at it today because we have to. There we go.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, so it's July 8th and it's 9 o'clock and we're gonna call the roll. John DeWolf,
Here.
Richard Swezak,
Here?
Rob Lewandowski,
Here.
DeAndrea here, Bob Doan,
Here,
Susan Mattern.
Here,
Susan, how do I pronounce your name correctly?
Mattern.
Mattern, Susan Mattern, Ryan Thompson,
here.
and Bob Doan. Looking for Bob, but so far so good. All right, we're going to move on to the regular agenda if that's okay, so we can cover some applications that Bob Doan has been involved in. And that brings us to page 5 of our regular agenda. Bob reviewed 5 applicants for Class 1 Credit Part 1 from Huang through Ozowski.
And I make a motion to approve all 5 for Class 1 Credit Part 1.
Is there a second?
Second?
Thank you, Richard. So it's been moved and seconded to approve Huang through Ozowski on page 5 for Class 1 Credit Part 1. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries. So most of the Class 1s are straightforward, right? As long as they're currently employed and working. So let's continue if that's okay. On the Class 1 Credit Part 1, I reviewed Ahmed, Basha, Bogue, and Archambault. I checked took a better look, make sure we had all of our endorsers, all good, all currently employed, 2 with DOT and 2 with environmental and hydrology. So my motion is to approve Ahmed, Basha, Bogue, and Archambault for Class 1 Credit Part 1. Is there a second to my motion?
I'll second.
Thank you, John. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor to approve Ahmed, Archambault, Basha, and Bogue for Class 1 Credit Part 1, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries. So moving down the agenda, John DeWolf reviewed Clark through Hamel.
And I move that we approve all 6.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Al. All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries. And Rob Lewandowski reviewed Pitzer, Porter, Rodrigo, and Cisco for Class 1 Credit Part 1.
Yeah, all good degrees, all good experience, all good endorsers. And so I recommend approval of all 4.
Is there a second?
Second?
Thank you, Richard. All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries. And lastly, on page 5 of our regular agenda, Soderholm, Stankiewicz, Viravoy, and Winfield were reviewed by Richard Swezak.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we approve all the applicants. You know, I just want to make a note that I actually had, an applicant from Electric Boat and an applicant from Pratt and Whitney, which is what we're trying to do, is trying to get the larger corporations to get their engineers to get, I guess, registered. So that was a good thing to see. So I'll make a motion that we approve all 4 of them.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, John. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries. And for the record, if it appears as though we're moving a little quickly this morning, it's because those Class 1 and Credit Part 1 are our new charge under the current DCP program, but they're fairly straightforward. as long as they meet those 3 criteria. So they're good to see. Then we'll continue on to page 6, which are number of applicants for class 4 reciprocity. These become a little more detailed. I did want to make one other comment going back to the class 1. When I met with the commissioner a few weeks ago, one of the comments we had was, that the DOT is looking for engineers, and a couple of my applicants were actively involved at DOT. So they may be also encouraging more employees to seek their license. So that's also good. So moving on to, excuse me.
Page 5, the last one on page 5.
Yes, sir. Oh, yes, sir. I got too far ahead of me. That's class 1 credit part 1 and 2. This is to approve the class 1 license for Reed Ferry that John DeWolf reviewed.
I move approval.
And this is a situation where he's already licensed in another state. What's the significance of the
He's taken both exams. That's what I saw.
yeah.
So, and passed them. And he meets the criteria.
Okay, so it's moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Al. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion to approve Reed Ferry for class 1 license, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So this is a situation where he's passed both exams, the person has. He's not registered anywhere else. So he could have taken the,
Yeah.
he could have taken the EIT in school in Minnesota and taken the FE in New York. And comes to Connecticut, I passed both. I never registered anywhere, didn't pay any fees. So I want to register in Connecticut. Is that a simple summation?
As I recall, yes.
Okay, thank you. So moving on to page 6, then we had the class 4 applicants. I did review the first 2, Baruhi and Shaundeson. I had we had 2 evaluations. One of them was Shaundeson, no deficiencies at all, 63 courses. He has a BS and a MS, both from France, 163 credits. So on Shaundeson, I recommend approval. On Ali Baroui, he's a power and water expert. The evaluation was very good, 138 credits, 49 courses. He missed 1 course in biology. So my recommendation is to approve Baruhi and Shaundeson for class 4 reciprocity. Is there
Second,
a second? I'm sorry, who's second?
second.
Thank you, Richard. All those in favor of the motion to approve Baruhi and Shaundeson, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries. One interesting thing about Shaundeson, all he has ever done, and he's apparently done it all over the world, is design structural cranes for construction and setup.
Oh.
So another discipline that you wouldn't have recognized or realized is necessary. Excuse me for a minute. The next applicants were Dastfar and Gagnon, reviewed by John DeWolf for class 4 reciprocity.
Dastbar has an Iranian undergraduate degree that was evaluated with no deficiencies and a master's at Stevens. I recommend approval of both Dastbar and Gagnon.
Is there a second?
Second.
I'll second.
I got Mr. Doan there, I think. All those in favor of the motion to approve Dastar and Gagnon, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries. Bob Doan reviewed Gavrilovic and Gauzain for class 4 reciprocity.
Gavrilovic has a engineering technology degree from Penn State. And he has the adequate experience of 16 years, 2 months. And Gosain has a foreign degree from Nepal. And he was evaluated and he was missing 2 hours in general ed and had about 90 hours in engineering. But I make a motion to approve both.
Second,
Thank you, John. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing on that, motion carries. And Rob Lewandowski reviewed Gorisma, Hughes, and Lee for Class 4 reciprocity.
All right, Turismo, had a foreign degree. It was by NTS and met the standards. Foreign degree, master's degree at University of Florida, good experience. Dennis Hughes, why it was not model law, but straightforward application, 25 years experience, good experience, so no problems there. And then Longwee Lee is a foreign degree with a master's degree at Carnegie Mellon, with good experience, and NCES said meets standards. So all three of them I recommend approval of all three of them. Like I said, good experience and met standards for NCES. So.
The second,
I'll second.
thanks, Al. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries. And then we had Richard Swezak reviewing Patel, Weiser, and Worthington.
Patel had a foreign degree from India and was missing some general education hours, so he was okay. Earl Weisner was actually imprisoned for almost a year. And when he was 20, he had a BB gun and he was shooting at birds, and he saw a postman walk by and he shot at the postman. He hit him in the shoulder. And he was charged with assaulting a federal, employee. And they actually sent him to prison for almost a year.
Wow.
at 20 years old.
Wow.
But everything else that he did was fine. So it was one of those kind of deals where, you wouldn't expect that it would be that severe. But I guess in Texas, they take their postal employees very, very serious. And Worthington just had a regular ordinary degree, and she was fine. So I'll make a motion that we approve all three of them.
Thank you, Richard. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Rob. All those in favor of the motion to approve Patel, Weiser, and Worthington for Class 4 reciprocity, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries. And if I may, we'll just, actually, how are we doing on time, Bob?
Oh, we're
Okay,
doing great.
okay, so.
My thread's not that thin, Tony.
What's that?
My thread isn't that thin.
Okay. We didn't have you on any other.
No, I've completed, the other item was the reinstatement that Jane sent around last night.
Let's do that if we may, if it's okay. And this is one that we have all looked at again. Last month I reviewed it. I asked for assistance from our expert educator and structural engineer, Mr. John DeWolf. Mr. Cullen O'Neill asked for a reevaluation of our decision. And that, again, we looked at the entire application, and you look at the master's program and compare it to an undergraduate degree, but ABET accredited program, and you can't find that the physics degree complies. So John made a thorough review and analyzed the education and the credits. And we come to the same conclusion that we did last month, that it doesn't meet the NCAAS model law criteria, nor does it meet and the decision that we made, if I can summarize it from last month, is that it's not consistent with the with the NCAAS requirements. There is no ABET accredited degree, and the courses that were taken for the master's program are all discipline specific and has nothing toward the breadth of the education. So John's recommendation was and is that this should be denied after further reconsideration.
He
Is
asked,
there
well, I can discuss briefly.
Yes, sir.
Okay, he has 48 credits in his master's program, and he says that meets the ABET requirement. However, there are 12 courses and a thesis. So he's using a thesis as part of that 48 credits. And as Tony just said, it's all in one area. There's no breadth. He just doesn't meet it. So do we need to have a motion, or do we just?
I think it's appropriate to have a motion that we all read it. We've discussed it again. We're consistent with our policy. The education does not meet the NCAAS model law that we're trying to follow, that we are following in its minimal application on all reviews. So if you will make a motion, John, then we'll.
I so move that it be once again denied because he doesn't have the equivalent of a 4-year engineering degree.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Thank you, Richard. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion to reaffirm our prior decision from June on Cullen O'Neill, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Excuse me?
I would like to ask if we could ask NCEES to provide us their criteria for evaluating undergraduate degrees. I think all they're doing is counting engineering courses. If it's an engineering course, they're happy as long as they get the 48 credits. But I'd like to see real criteria is and how it matches with the ABET requirements for a 4-year engineering degree.
Right. So what they're trying to say, perhaps, John, is that, okay, let's just start from this. You call it a master's. There's a specialty or concentration in structures, but that's as good an engineering program as you need if you want to be a structural engineer. But that's inconsistent with the model law because they talk about, depth and breadth in 2 different exams. Why do we have the 2 different exams then?
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, that's what we're saying.
But I just don't, I don't know about their evaluations. If they're really doing it with ABET requirements in mind, which means breadth and not just credits, or are they just counting credits? That's what I'd like to know.
Okay. I think that we should, could even send this application around and say, how does this qualify? This wasn't evaluated, this particular application.
No, I'm not talking about this one specifically, but.
No, but this is a good example of it. Because well, we can't fault them yet because they didn't evaluate it. But it'd be nice to know, you're right. The general question, which is coming up, I'm going to go to the national meeting and we have an engineering forum and I'll raise that as a discussion item because I think you'd be surprised at the answer.
Yeah.
Or you might not be surprised at the answer.
Right. That's good. That's a good way to bring it up. Thank you.
Yeah, because if you looked at this app, as a test case, would NCAAS evaluate this as an equivalent to the undergraduate degree? And the answer has to be no. And it's again, as I said, if you think it is, then why do you test both exams? Why do you have both exams? All right. Okay, let's that was a good discussion. Now we
Hey,
have,
Tony, Tony,
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I was thinking about this whole topic a little bit, you know, with NCEES evaluating these degrees and John DeWolf, as he said, maybe they're just counting classes or counting credits, you know, and then I think about ABET going into every school and evaluating their program and giving ABET accreditation and that whole process that ABET goes through to accredit engineering schools. If the NCES is going to look at things differently than ABET is going to look at schools, it doesn't seem as though it seems as though they should be in sync, I guess is what I'm trying to say. You know, because if it doesn't matter to NCES, then why are you going through all that effort with ABET?
Right. So the issue, your comment is correct. They have to coincide, and every national exam and every national meeting, they always have ABET there, you know, to strengthen their position. And obviously they have to be in sync. And I think that what I just said was, if you want to credit all of your master's programs to override everything that you would have had in your undergraduate degree program, then why do we have the FE exam? Right?
Yeah, you start devaluing the undergrad degree and the FE exam. I mean, you're just devaluing it.
Right. So the other side of thought, because I'm doing the same thing constantly, is how do we or why should we be concerned when we deny somebody that didn't have the undergraduate degree? We shouldn't be concerned because it's a policy that we've established. We're following a model law. We're trying to be equivalent with all other jurisdictions as the bare minimum. And they keep reminding us that the exams that they put forth are to test the bare, you know, the minimum competency. And then you take the case of, and we've had a few of them, where the structural engineers have started out in physics. There's been a couple of them, and this one is another example. And then they realized they liked that theoretical aspect of it, and so they concentrate in structures. And now he's got 25 years of fantastic experience designing 75-story steel structure buildings. And then we decide he's not qualified to be licensed in the state of Connecticut. He's expert in his field, but he's not consistent with the model law, and he's not consistent with our policy. So we ignore the experience and the expertise. So we really have no
It's
option
tricky.
but to continue with our decisions. Is that a fair statement? A fair position?
Yes, I believe it is.
Right.
I have to say it, I've said it before. I think that we got to remember the point of this board is, you know, to protect the public. And in the situation you just described, Tony, I don't think we're protecting the public by not allowing a very qualified person because they don't meet a copy pasted, you know,
Exam.
Well, not, yeah, they don't meet, you know, we're getting mired in the bureaucracy of it, and we're overlooking the reality of a very competent, capable person who I think should, I don't know, I think that we're missing the point by getting too caught up on the technicality in a situation like that. That's my opinion.
But Ryan, the competence of the person is gauged on his education. That's part of determining his competence.
Yes, I agree. And I think that applies to like 98% of the candidates. But I think there's 2% that come through who may be fully qualified and capable. And we have to evaluate them and look at the totality of their 25 years of experience, PhD from Cornell or whatever it was, respected in the field. I think that you have to look at some of these people that come in with something outside of the, they check every block, because I think that we're licensing people who check the blocks but are nowhere near qualified as maybe this particular individual. And I think that we're doing a disservice to the profession by not letting somebody who maybe chose a different path, but still has at the end of it, the outcome that we would desire. I think that we really need to consider that.
Along those lines, Brian, we have in our regulations the provisions for technology degree. And I think I'm trying to make a point that's somewhat along yours, is that in the technology degree, we somewhat recognize that the undergraduate curriculum is not quite up to the ABET accreditation for that program. And it's argued every year at the national meeting that why are we supporting technology degrees at all, right? But in our regulations, we look at those applicants with experience, extra experience. So we're accepting the fact that their education, undergraduate education, may not be quite up to the requirements of ABET. And then based on the fact that they've got more experience, we're willing to license them. So then I would ask, following your line of thought, why are we not doing that for someone that I have more respect for as the structural engineer, especially when they've passed and worked toward with a master's and then taken the structural 2 exam. So you got to wonder, do we make an exception for someone with a structural 2 exam, even though we're not discipline specific, and say that that individual, through ethical attention and dedication, knowing the limits of their experience and abilities, they're only working in structure. And they allow the geotech to do the analysis of the soils and the hydrologist to take care of the drainage.
I would like to add, Brian, I appreciate what you say, but remember, we're licensing these people as professional engineers, not as a structural engineer, not as a geotechnical engineer, but as a professional engineer, which has to recognize that these people should have background in some breadth. This fellow we just talked about is all structures. There isn't even a geotechnical course in the thing. He's being licensed to practice engineering with a very specific specialty, and that doesn't fit with the state law. The state law expects people to be broader than that. That's my view.
So for now, we're consistent with our prior decisions on all of the applicants who come through with a similar situation. Only a couple of times have we really found that the dedication to taking more of the undergraduate core courses, there's only been a few applicants that we've agreed have actually accomplished that objective. So for now, I think we're consistent, and that's the most important thing at this moment. I wonder if there would be a difference of opinion if the state were to be discipline specific. That's another thing to think about. We don't have discipline specific. However, it would never eliminate the concern for having the undergraduate ABET accredited program, which for 30 years we've agreed is the most important, or one of the 3 most important aspects of the licensure. Enough for now?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a continuing conversation.
Yes, sir. I agree.
And it should be.
All right, guys,
Right,
I'm going to sign off. Have a good month, everyone.
Thank you very much, Bob.
Thanks,
See you,
Bob.
Yeah, take care.
Good luck, Bob.
So now we're going to move on to continue with our regular agenda, which is the Class 6A exam credit part 1 reviewed by the land surveying contingent. It's Edwin Michaud and Sean Perry.
So I would recommend approval of both. They both seem to have good experience, sufficient number of years and references.
I second it.
Thank you, Susan. Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion to approve Machado and Perry for Class 6A exam credit part 1, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. And under Class 8 exam, we had John Gatchell Jr. With a license in New Hampshire for the fundamentals and the professional exam. So he's looking to license in Connecticut, taking the Connecticut exams. So is there a motion to approve?
I was just curious. The way he has this written, he states he only has 4 years. Where did I write that down? 4 years, 4 months experience. However, like you just said, he's licensed in other states, New Hampshire and Maine. 9 years and 6 months was with an engineering company, and he performed a lot of land surveying tasks. However, he states he has no experience under an LS. So I'm not sure how you handle an application like this where he has a degree, I mean, he has a license in 2 states, but he doesn't really have the experience in Connecticut to qualify.
Well, does he have to have the experience in Connecticut? Why?
Well,
I mean, it's just like you just said, do we go by the letter of our requirements or?
He's a licensed land surveyor. He's been working as a surveyor. He's passed the fundamentals and the professional exam. Now we've asking him to prove that he's aware of the unique aspects of the Connecticut laws and practice.
Right.
yeah. Yeah, I don't think that Susan was saying that he needs specific Connecticut experience. He had, the thing is, and I caught on to the same thing. He worked for many years basically practicing surveying, but not as and I don't know if he was licensed at that point or if he was just working for an engineering firm doing surveying tasks, that there was no other surveyor to validate his experience. I think that's the concern, Susan, if I'm not mistaken, you're pointing out, correct?
Yeah, it's just a little confusing. I mean, certainly he's licensed, I'm sure he does a great job. His endorsements were great. It's just another confusing application where you look at it and you're like.
Yeah, he's got many years of experience, but only 4 of it that counts because it's under a licensed surveyor. And so, I think that's the question. Does it meet our requirements? And I'm actually looking it up right now.
So
I mean, I would vote to approve him in, but it's just an unusual presentation of experience.
So at no time did he have any experience under a licensed land surveyor?
No, he did.
Oh, okay. 4 years, you said.
4 years worth.
Yeah.
Right,
So,
but then he's been licensed, so he's apparently doing work, but he did have a couple other things like, I think he was the one that was the teacher to begin with, right?
yeah, he was a teacher to begin with.
Then he went to work for a bio company.
Well, you can't fault him for being motivated. He's motivated. He's evolved into it, and he's been licensed. He's taken the exams, and now he wants to prove his knowledge of Connecticut.
I think the issue is this. So he's applying under Class 8, which for the experience requirement, it says equivalent to Connecticut. And so the problem is that which equivalent? Like, which one would it be? Would it be Class 5, Class 6A, Class 6B, Class 7? And I'm not sure, I'm trying to find it again. I'm not sure that he meets the experience requirement. Because I don't think he's got a 4-year surveying degree. Or maybe I'm wrong on that. Let me open it.
Well, at this point, he hasn't applied for a license. He's asked to take the exam.
No,
He
I
has a
understand,
BS.
but he would still have to meet the experience requirement. So, here, I've got it open. So his degree is in biology. So that's the thing. So he's got a biology degree from 93 to 97 in University of New Hampshire. So he doesn't have a surveying degree. And then he's got, so that means he's a non-graduate, which means that he's got to have total of 9 years experience. But he doesn't, he has 4. And even though he's licensed in another state, he's only got 4 years of surveying experience under a surveyor in another state. That's the concern I found. Is that, Susan, I don't want to put words in your mouth. Is that the same thing you're coming up with?
Yeah, do you see, I have it just really small here. Do you see when he got licensed in those other states? Do we have that?
Well, New Hampshire was initially issued in 2007. So it's been almost 20 years.
Yeah, I think that kind of overrules it, the rest of it, because he's had it so he himself can vouch for himself with his experience, whatever work he's done. But like if he's licensed since 2007 and then he worked for this Jones and Beach from 2000 to 2009, why didn't you put 2 years down of experience from those years as opposed to, not adding that experience? I think he's got the experience. It's just, like I said, an odd presentation of his experience record.
Yeah, well, except he didn't put that experience down because he said it's verified by himself, and he wasn't working under a licensed land surveyor. That's why he didn't count that as towards his experience. So the question, basically that I see is, when he got licensed in New Hampshire in 2007, he didn't meet the same requirements that Connecticut has. And that's what, as a Class 8, he's supposed to meet the same requirements as if he were getting licensed here at the same time. And so at that, our requirements, and I don't know exactly what they were in 2007, but our requirements are that as a basically with a biology degree, he needs 9 years of experience under a licensed surveyor, which he doesn't have. But at this point, he's been licensed for 20 years. There's no way he's going to get another. I mean, it would be impractical and unreasonable to ask him to go work for another surveyor for 4 years so he can get licensed here. But that's the conundrum that we're in, because technically he doesn't meet our requirements. But again, I agree with Susan. I think he's probably perfectly valid to be a licensed surveyor here. But he doesn't meet the letter of the law. So that's where we are.
It sounds to me that like he's asking to take the exam. We should allow him to take the exam and go on faith that if he's been working at it since 2007, he's learned something.
Well, I mean, it goes back to what I said a moment ago. I think that based on looking at his experience, and Susan said the same thing, and based on the fact that he's been doing this for 20 years and he's been, I mean, I think he's probably perfectly competent, but we're making an exception to our regulations to be able to say that he's doing it. Whereas we're not doing that on the other side with a structural engineer, who I think the majority of the people here would say, yeah, he's probably competent in that structural, but he doesn't meet the education requirement. So we're kind of in that situation. So to be consistent, technically we would have to deny him, but to I'll stop there.
I know. The other aspect of it is he got licensed in Connecticut, in Maine. He decided to go off and open his own business. He became a licensed land surveyor, and he's been practicing land surveying in Maine for 18 years, and he hasn't gone to jail yet. I mean, he's got the experience, and he got it under his own, his own shingle. He's been doing it.
That's how I feel.
So I think he has the experience, and if the application doesn't show any discipline actions, and he's been working in 2 states, and he's, from New Hampshire, I think he has the experience necessary to continue. And I'm of the mindset myself in that we don't really need the guy going out with a machete and looking for an iron pin on the corner to be considered a competent, knowledgeable land surveyor.
Mhm.
That's my personal opinion. And in this case, I believe that he has proven his experience, if you guys agree,
Right.
for what he's done since 2007 as a licensed New Hampshire land surveyor. So I would vote to take the exam.
I'll second it.
Right.
I don't know if I made the motion there, but if you want me to-
I took it as a motion.
All right, I move to approve John Gatchell Jr. for Class 8 exam. Is there a second?
Second it.
Thank you, Susan. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion to approve John Gatchell for Class 8 exam, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, so let me just go back for a moment and see. We reviewed this. I think we missed one reconsideration of Class 4 license, which was Luca Senatore, reviewed by Rob Lewandowski. It's on page 2 of our regular agenda.
Yeah, you did. So Luca Senatori submitted an application last month. It was non-model law. His foreign degree,
John, Rob, you're breaking up. You're
master's
breaking up.
degree at NYU, good experience. Yeah, sorry about that. When he submitted his application, we reviewed it last month. He had a gap in his experience record, 4 or 5 year gap. So we requested him to fill in that gap. So he did, which is fine. But he was a non-model law engineer due to a foreign degree. He got a master's degree at NYU. NCES evaluated his degree. It's a good degree, plenty of good experience, and he's with that said, I would recommend approval now.
Thank you, Rob.
I'll second.
Thank you, John. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion to approve Class 4 license for Luca Senatore, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Hearing none, that motion carried. All right. We don't have a supplemental agenda, but we do have 2 items on the regular agenda, correspondence. The first one is from one individual, Larry Connolly, in a little bit of a dilemma concerning building design and engineering being proposed, offered by an engineer. My first reaction is, I know of a lot of structural engineers who design buildings as part of the architectural process. So certainly someone who's a structural engineer offering to provide building design and engineering, I think would be a reasonable extension of his practice. So I also know of, and I'm not sure it exists, but there was a provision in the building code where I can design a building as long as it didn't exceed 5,000 square feet. That's an architectural aspect. I wouldn't be in violation of the building code I don't know if I'd be in violation of an architectural license, so I don't do it. However, in this case, I don't know if we have the need for a decision or a response. And maybe it's a question for DCP. Is there some kind of misleading to the public that he's offering to design buildings? This engineer is making the claim that he can provide building design on his website, in the promotional brochures and orally at trade shows. So the question is, can he legally claim he can provide building design and engineering? And I think that he can.
I would agree with that in terms
Hey,
of, I know
Tony,
that.
I mean, I read the attachments. It didn't seem like what was attached there when you read it, it didn't seem like he was overselling his services. It says unparalleled engineering and design services. You can always bring an outside architect to join a team when need be. Where the prime designer is an engineer. In design build world, our lead engineer is typically our prime consultant on a design team is typically an engineer, and the architect joins the team. Versus in a building, typically it's joins the team. Like the lead engineer, and they grab an architect when need be.
Correct. A few years ago, there was a discussion about this in our board, and we made a decision. For example, a major engineering company, you put forth a bid, you're offering architectural services. You're not in any violation of offering architectural services when you're proposing, a bid for a design. So you're the coordinating consultant and you're offering to put together the team. There's no violation of any ethics or statutes in regard to that. If you were a baker, you can't offer to provide engineering services. Okay, I don't know if we should make a 2-sentence response, in that we see no apparent issue with a structural engineer offering building design and engineering, or just an engineer offering building design and engineering. Because we don't know if he's a discipline, we don't know if he's a structural engineer, we don't know if he's a hydraulic engineer. But that's not what Connecticut does right now.
Yeah, and you can add the second sentence, Tony, and just say, we've done this in the past. If licensed architectural services are required in the design, a licensed architect will perform them.
Yes. Correct. That's right. I'll design you a structural engineering building, and if you want to put something fancy on it, then I'll get you an architect. Okay. I can put it two or three sentences together for Jane. I'll send it to you. All right. Do we need a formal motion? I don't think so. But if you'd like to make a motion, we'll make a motion to respond that the professional engineer may offer building design and engineering if an architectural element or component is required. That can be made part of the design team. That can be. I'll make up something. I'll send it around so we can add. All right. I just have to think about the wording for a few minutes. Okay. And the next item of correspondence was we listed it as A2. It's a letter summarizing or offering or making it known that the University of Idaho has a surveying program. And they outline what's in the course. And that's good to know. I guess it's another option or alternative to University of Maine, and a couple of others throughout the country. But that, I think, is just a matter of information. And we may actually see somebody with a graduate degree from the University of Idaho, or Idaho State, excuse me. Any other discussion on that?
So they would also contact NSPS and get on that list.
They're going to do that. Or
Okay,
is that-
because I noticed that list is outdated because Paul Smith's is still on there.
Okay. Where is that? What was that? Where's that reference, Susan?
No, I just brought it up. It's not referenced anywhere. I just, in the NSPS website that has all the accredited programs,
Okay.
they need to contact them too, which I'm sure they must have already.
Okay, I see what you're saying. They want to be on the accredited list, but the accredited list has something that doesn't exist anymore.
Exactly.
Okay, good point. I don't think we have to tell them that. All right, so we did our 2 items of correspondence. We took care of the class 4 reconsideration. On page 3 of our regular agenda, we have a list of PE candidates who took and passed the CBT exams. We had 2 mechanical and 3 civil, again, just for information. We also have a list of those newly licensed model law class 4 applicants. They're listed on page 3 and 4. I didn't count them, but it's a significant number. Again, for information, since we have nothing to do with it anymore. On page 5, we covered our exams and applications. On page 6, we have a list of licenses, class 9 license on page 6 and 7, Almonte through Cole on page 6, Marine through White on page 7. These are applicants who passed the EIT. Is there a motion to approve those licenses?
So move.
Thank you, John. Second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Rob.
Bye,
All those in
everyone.
fa- Was that?
Bye, Susan.
Okay. Did I get the second wrong? Is that what we're saying?
No, Susan was saying goodbye.
Oh, goodbye, Susan. I didn't even excuse her and she left. How inconsiderate.
She had a
Anyway.
doctor's appointment.
All those in favor of the motion to approve the class 9 licenses for Almonte through White, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing that motion carried. And then the one item that we haven't addressed yet that I was hoping to do before Bob left, but we have our minutes from June 10th. I went through them and I noticed it was a very neat and organized minutes with good commentary and a few underlines of critical conversations that we had. So I didn't see any opportunity for corrections or modifications unless someone else does. And then I noticed how now we have the motion and the second on all the decisions.
I'll move approval of the minutes of June 2025.
Thank you, John. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ryan. All those in favor of the motion to approve the minutes from June 10th, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing on that, motion carries. Is there any new or other business to discuss?
Tony, can we just do under the old business, the foreign evaluations?
Oh, yes. You wanted to do that. Yes.
Please.
So Jane has raised an issue about, why don't you explain it, Jane, from your standpoint? If I
Okay.
can ask you.
So the way that I was told, so with the foreign evaluations, if it's deemed equivalent, meaning they met every single credit requirement, then that basically would be considered a class 1 or a class 9 for EIT. So, and then if they're for the other foreign evaluations where they're missing like a gen ed or a math class, they would be considered a 2 or a 10. So that's the way I was told to look at it, if I'm making sense, I hope.
You are.
So that's why I just want to make sure that we're all, so when I'm advising people that, you know, so if it's a 2, you know, then they need more years of experience than the 4 years, they need 7 or whatever. So I just want to make sure I'm giving the correct information. That's the way you all are reviewing it.
Okay, so a long time ago, if I remember correctly, when we didn't have the advantage of the evaluation, we had to ask for more experience to prove. And we also had the alternative route of, if they had a master's from a school that had an accredited program, then that basically, what's the word? Qualified the undergraduate degree, because we had no other option. Then the evaluation services came around, and we kind of ignored the class 2, in my opinion, or my recollection. So right now, the way we've been doing it, if you come in and you have a foreign degree, it gets evaluated. We have decided whether or not missing a biology course is significant, and allowed it to go forward. I don't know that we have really been using class 2. The undergrad with, you know, the what's the word? A non-graduate or a class 2 was someone who didn't necessarily have the education background, education program. It goes way back to when the licensing statutes was created. You know, the oral degree and the other ways toward licensure. So do we even have to consider the class 2 change?
Well, I thought the class 2 was either the technology degree or a foreign degree. That wasn't equivalent.
But the technology degree is not getting an evaluation. We're just recognizing it. So when you're looking at a technology degree, you go to class 2 and you look at the different categories of what they had: 2-year technology degree, 4-year technology degree. Those are we have too many variations under that class, but that's what we've had to do, right? Class 2 technology degree needed 7 years. Okay, so he got 7 years, but he had a 4-year technology degree. If it was 2 years, he had to have a lot more. If it's a class 1 foreign degree and he's missing a biology course, then we've been approving it generally. I mean, how many times have we rejected somebody because he didn't have a humanities? None.
I basically think that we're all, or other than technology, fall into class 1. If they don't meet the class 1 requirements, which means if it's a foreign degree and we have to deem it equivalent, if they don't meet that, then they're not eligible to be licensed. So I don't see why everything we do, with the exception of technology degrees, isn't ultimately class 1.
That's kind of where I was going, and I think that's appropriate, and it simplifies it. So class 1, if you're evaluated and you're deemed equivalent, or you're minus in a humanities or a biology or an elective, you're still class 1. We waived it, so to speak.
It's
Then
up
you
to,
come with,
yeah,
and then there's the,
okay, go ahead.
no, I was just saying, then the other one is the technology degree. We look at it a little bit differently.
Right. We are the ones who determine, is this foreign degree equivalent or not? And if they're missing biology, we'll say, yes, it's okay. So we will deem it equivalent. So that puts them in class 1.
I agree. Does that help you, Jane?
Yes, thank you.
So the key is if there's any doubt on a foreign degree and you have the evaluation and it said, okay, and we recognize that there's 1 or 2 humanities, that's our decision. I don't think we have to encumber the process by deciding whether or not it's a class 2. But class 2 is applicable to technology.
Okay, so just to be clear, basically class 2 is technology, 4-year technology degree.
Well, it's technology because we have those different classes in the technology degree, which used to be considered the non-graduate. That's why I say we're not really looking, and I don't know how many times we've ever seen it at, a 2-year or all the other variations in that class 2. So we can, I think, safely say we're going to look at the technology degree separately as a class 2. And then decide what the education was.
Jane, it's just like class 3. We have determined that we are not able to evaluate class 3 because there's no way that under class 3 it's equivalent. We can determine that what they have is equivalent to the model law. So class 3 is not eligible, and I would say all this stuff under class 2 is not applicable other than the technology degree.
And I think that's fair and fair to the applicant. I mean, it's pretty clear in that regard. So we don't have to keep looking at the variations in the testament that they make as to what they've done. Okay? If another one comes up, Jane, that's potentially problematic, we'll just send it out and we'll all look at it.
Sounds good, thank you.
All right, Jane. Did I miss anything else?
Complaints?
Item G,
Oh. Just
was that?
complaints?
complaints.
Is
Item G?
We ready? Motion to adjourn?
No.
Second.
I guess
What are we
there's
doing?
another, I guess
We got
Pamela
something
Brown's
else
here,
going here?
so
what's missing? Could somebody say something?
complaints.
I don't see Janita here today.
Oh,
I haven't.
There was no report given to me either, so I don't think there's anything to really discuss
Okay.
there.
Right.
Nothing
Okay.
in the agenda.
Okay, Al.
Now we can do that?
Yes, sir.
Motion to adjourn?
Thank you, Al. Second.
Second.
Who was that? Rob?
Yeah.
Motion to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
aye.
We're
Aye.
going to see each other in August.
All right. I'll
Okay,
probably
well,
be in
August.
Colorado, so.
Hey, Rob,
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember this, but I met you. I surveyed your neighbor across the street a few years back. Do you remember me?